Welcome back to another episode of CPaaSAA Talk. And today I'm here with my good friend Ahmed Omer from ENT. It's good to see you again. It's been a little while, but you've been so busy. It's been impossible to get you on one of our CPaaSAA Talks. I was triggered, Ahmed, by your recent announcement of EngageX Nexus. And you've been building EngageX for a couple of years already. Really impressed by how you're putting that together. Tell us a little bit about Nexus and where you are on your journey.
Yeah, thanks, Rob, for having me. And it's been indeed a while. I always enjoy and like to have these chats and talks and also give some progressions on our journey when it comes to the evolutions of our offerings. Nexus is actually a very unique offering that we started to put in place. It's actually a platform that is being built for us and also for partners. And the objective here is we are trying to consolidate all of the current omni-channel engagement that we have with enterprises through us directly in some of the occasions, but also get the help to consolidate the others within the same platforms on a more a regional view. This is meant to be mainly for the multinational companies, for the people who would like to consolidate their interactions, people who have complex business processes applications between a campaign management tool and another customer support tool and another ERP to manage their internal processes. But the objective here is this consolidated layer will look like a mediation to interface between what they are trying to achieve. And there is also a good layer of intelligence, either by API integrations or through a graphical user interface that will allow people to run their own campaign and manage the workflow and build something for their support agents. And of course, we had to add the AI components. We are taking leverage of the base of customers and use cases that we have today. So we've injected also the learning part. We have more than 200 use cases being delivered over 7 different verticals, mainly consumer interactions. We embedded these ready-made workflows available for people just to pick and execute. They can rename, they can just put their names, the logo, and their interfaces, and just publish it to their own consumer. So it's very, very unique. It's a state of art. It's something that reflects our vision and learning over the last 2 to 3 years. And it's actually something that's been appraised also by the partners. I think they also like it. We learned from where people ends and we try to push it and validate it. So yeah, exciting times ahead.
It's great. I love how you've always had that approach of building your own stack, using partners for specific parts, but also adding your own components, very much driven by the needs of the markets that you operate in or that you want to expand into. So how does that work in today's, let's say, world of CPaaS and CCaaS, where everything is moving towards customer experience, right? The vendors are moving there, but you still have your own combination of let's say components and the CPaaS layer. How is that
Yeah.
working out for you? How do you find those partnerships working?
So let's understand the motivation based first, Rob. I think it's very important for the audience to understand the rationale behind that because for them maybe it looks a bit confusing between this and going to the market directly. No, it's been done by design. There's no confusion. This has been driven mainly by our local experience, the approach that we have today, the compliance, the regulations, the customer's requirement, and as you rightly said, the personalizations. We know the brands better. We know the verticals better. We know what's best for the consumers, and we don't want to let go the fast kitchen that we have today in the intellectual property of the big players. And we believe that they are actually bringing a very unique competitive edge of these products to be executed. And usually, this is the area that where we add and combine the value of what they have. So this has been done by design. It's been meant to be. And again, we are trying to avoid this confusion to the customer by telling him, what is your problem statement? What is your KPI drivers? And this is where we will drive either our own intellectual property, the partners, the combination of both. And to be honest, the three of us love it. The customer love it, the partner love it, and for sure we have in it something in it for us, and we also love it. So I think this is where the mindset on this specific niche industry need to have instead of compete is to collaborate. And I'm sure that the blue ocean is actually big for all of us, especially with the era of the AI concept. So with all of these license consumptions, seats that we are trying to sell, it can vanish in one day if an AI component will come. and prove its competency. So it's better we address first the customer's need, understand what the market really wants, and then we work backwards to do this for them. And again, this is purely driven by the consumer need at the end of the day, when someone needs to be treated well in the right channel with the right content in the right time across the whole journey. So it's unfair for us to really bring X platform for acquisition and another platform for retention and another platform for customer care to support. And you need to log into this website and you need to download that mobile app and you need to send a message to the what. It's unfair. It's unfair for a consumer today who have 3 clicks to onboard himself in a credit card. So I think as we treat customers for our own brands, I think we need to look also homogeneous across those platforms. And it's something that's been appreciated by the partners as well.
Yeah, I like that approach. I like how you start with the customer first, right? And the business outcome. You're trying to figure out how you can add value for them, and then you have that palette of possibilities basically to help them with. And then you also add the professional services, right, to do the implementation with them and for them, because that's always been a challenge, of course. Now, with AI coming to the scene, you mentioned AI already a little bit, and I think AI is going to be a big disruptor in our space, right? Because one of the problems with APIs and CPaaS has always been the development challenge. And now AI is at a point where it's getting better at coding, and there's some predictions that say maybe a year from now 90% of all the coding in the world will be done by AI. I can totally envision that AI will get smart enough, and there's some challenges, right, with your data and the guardrails and the regulatory. There's still things to solve, but I think it's a big disruptor as we move to customer experience in a very hyper personalized and a very verticalized way. So how do you see that play out with your customers, and what do you think the next 12 months really are going to look like?
Yeah, I think it's a very big and bold topic, especially to inject it in an area where we thought that automation will solve the problem. So it seems like automation is not enough for customers, and they really need the automation to be automated in a way that it should be more smarter. I think we come from a school that need to prove the concepts before we scale up the ambition. And it's very important because in these cases, when such trend comes, it can be diluted easily if you don't see the return of investment. So it's always good to talk about new technologies and how the trend looks like. But if it doesn't really solve an actual use case for the customers and simplify either for the internal agents or the internal operation team or the customer, we will not be convincing. And it's a very simple case. When we started all of this, the 2-factor authentication, it's a very good example. When we was trying to penetrate only one single use case to ensure today that this will have the legitimacy, authentication, and etc. And it's been there for decades. And look at the 2-factor authentication. It's one of the parts today that people have accessless connectivity to very critical application like their banking and their life. I think this is what we need to do we need to focus at that one single use case. That could be learning the algorithms, applying it, and modifying the actual process of the customers instead of 5 clicks into 1 click. And it should be authorized with the level of data that will allow it to have. Now, this authorization need to happen in a delegation of power that should be enough. An AI chatbot agent that will learn over time how to serve Rob better over the next 3 calls by accommodating him a free voucher of 50 or 60 euro if he is a value customers by 2,000 euro. And that's a very simple logic that you need to evolve over time, because this 2,000 will not be 2,000 anymore. It could be 20,000. That means the 50 vouchers need to also evolve. And that's not something that you need to inject as a code or as a logic. So, and that's where the trend will change also in diversifying your product portfolio. You'll buy stuff, you will cancel stuff, but that learning should happen in one single use case, probably in the retail, e-commerce, serving one specific persona of the customers. And once that breakthrough will happen, trust me, the other jealous AI chatbots will always learn, and then they will be able to get that virus accordingly. But I think if we will boil the oceans and try to put AI into everything that we do, we might dilute the actual value and we will not be convincing to our customers. That's my humble opinion. Again, I could be proven wrong, but this is the philosophy that I'm coming with.
Well, your philosophy has worked well the last couple of years, right? Because when we first met, I think you're sort of leading a team of maybe 10 or 12 people a couple of years ago. You're more than 100 now and still growing. Where do you think you'll be at the end as an organization, and what is the biggest challenge to tackle this year?
I think if with all of this progression, I think if you will ask me how much did we achieve in terms of our vision, this number in terms of percentage is actually reducing every time. So the moment that I had 10% of my vision in second year accomplished, when I went to the second year, it's supposed to be increased to 15%. But eventually I found that it's actually 7%. This is because the universe is actually growing. And again, when we scale up in the CPaaS business, we now went to the contact center. We are going now to the CRM. We're doing the outsourcing capabilities in terms of BBO. We are doing MarTech, which is a new area for us, e-commerce, which was not there, part of it that include also payments. So we are looking at the areas where we complement the consumer journey interaction with any brand and any customer interfacing. And we always like to challenge this heavy infrastructure that's been there by the CEOs, CIOs and the CTOs, not for anything else, but it's actually for them to simplify their life, reduce their cost, and eventually deliver something for the customer. It could be for the internal user, or it could be for the external. So we look at expanding the actual portfolio on the consumer journey from awareness to reality. And then, of course, the regional expansion that we are doing very well right now in terms of KSA, Egypt, going to Turkey also for some of the selective deals, and then Pakistan where our operation is there, but we're also evaluating those markets. So between regional and product-wise, these are the two directions we believe in. And we are trying to do this with a very cautious steps, but also in a very pragmatic way to my organization and to my stakeholders.
Sounds great. I think you're a real example, Ahmed, of how a telco can grow and become more than just, let's say, the infrastructure, the dumb pipe. So it's always a pleasure to talk to you. I hope to see you again in person in Amsterdam in September when we do our next CPaaSAA event. I'd love to see you there on stage and talk more about this. In the meantime, I wish you good luck with Nexus and everything else that's happening in the region there. Thanks for being here.
Thank you so much, Rob, and thank you for having me. Have a good day. Take care.